When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Viktor Frankl. There comes a point when you're not afraid. You're just tired. Tired of pushing, tired of pretending, tired of waking up every day just to fight through another wave of stress, expectation, or emptiness. You're not living and you're surviving. And while the world applauds your strength, no one sees the cost. Behind the functionality is fatigue. Behind the smile is silent collapse. This isn't about giving up. It's about wondering how much longer you can keep going like this. When life becomes a never-ending list of things to endure, something in the soul starts to dim. And the real question rises, is this all there is? Viktor Frankl believed that survival without meaning becomes torment. That suffering, when stripped of purpose, turns into despair. But when we connect our pain to something greater, even survival becomes sacred. Marcus Aurelius saw survival not as a curse, but as a test of discipline, an invitation to strip life down to its essence and act with quiet strength. Two perspectives. One seeks redemption through meaning, the other through mastery. But both ask you to do more than survive. They ask you to live, even in the fire. Sometimes the hardest part isn't a dramatic tragedy, it's the slow erosion. The silent weight of waking up every day and doing what you have to do, even when your soul is running on empty. You go to work, pay the bills, hold things together. People call you strong, dependable, resilient, but they don't see what it costs you. Behind the competence is exhaustion. Behind the routine is a deep ache. You're not falling apart, but you're not really living either. You're surviving. And that kind of survival feels like limbo. You're not in crisis, but you're not at peace. There's no time to dream, no room to rest. You keep telling yourself things will calm down eventually, but eventually never comes. The pace doesn't slow, the pressure doesn't lift. So you put your head down and push forward, because what else can you do? And yet, quietly, you wonder, how long can I live like this? Viktor Frankl saw this kind of fatigue in the deepest corners of suffering. He understood that humans can endure almost anything, but not for nothing. The soul can bear unimaginable pain, he said, if it believes that pain serves a purpose. But take away the why, and even a normal life becomes unbearable. Frankl believed that the danger of modern life isn't too much suffering, it's meaningless suffering. When your struggle has no direction, no higher goal, no deeper reason, it begins to crush you from the inside. Marcus Aurelius approached survival from a different angle. He didn't ask why you suffer, he asked how you respond to it. Life to him was about clarity. Strip away what doesn't matter. Accept what is outside your control, focus on your role and your duty in this moment. The Stoic doesn't wait for relief. He moves with discipline, one step at a time, even in the storm. Endure and renounce, Marcus wrote, not out of bitterness, but out of devotion to what is good, no matter how difficult. But even Marcus felt the drag of survival. In his writings, you feel the weariness, the repetition, the need to remind himself again and again to stay steady. That tells us something vital. Even the strong grow tired. Even the wise struggle to carry the weight. And that's not weakness, it's reality. The question is not whether survival is exhausting. It is. The question is, what are you surviving for? Frankl gives you a mission. Marcus gives you a posture. One says, transform your pain into purpose. The other says, walk through it with virtue. But both agree, survival by itself is not enough. If you're tired, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means it's time to remember who you are and why you're still standing. There's a kind of strength that doesn't look heroic. It doesn't make speeches or climb mountains. It wakes up early. It keeps promises. It gets through the day. But when that strength has no vision behind it, when you're strong just to hold everything together, it slowly begins to feel like a trap. You become the dependable one, the quiet one, the one who always manages. But deep inside, a voice whispers, for how long? And for what? Viktor Frankl believed that this voice is sacred. That the moment you start asking why, in the midst of pain, something human, something divine begins to awaken. He taught that suffering only destroys when it feels empty. But if it's part of a mission, it becomes bearable, even noble. Frankl didn't minimize exhaustion, he reframed it. What if your fatigue is the weight of carrying something important? What if your survival is part of someone else's future? Healing. In his view, the tired soul isn't weak. It's waiting to remember what it's fighting for. Marcus Aurelius saw survival differently. He didn't try to romanticize it. He accepted it as the raw material of life. You wake up. You act. You focus on what is right, not what is easy. You don't chase relief. You cultivate endurance. To Marcus, pain is a companion, not an enemy. And tiredness is not an obstacle. It's a condition of existence. He writes not with emotional comfort, but with disciplined compassion. You are here. The world is hard. Do your part with grace. That is enough. And yet even Marcus returned again and again to the same truths, as if he needed reminding. You could leave life right now, he wrote. Let that determine what you do and say and think. That wasn't despair. It was focus. When everything feels too heavy, the Stoic answer is not to feel less. It's to carry less. Let go of what you can't control. Stop replaying, overthinking, holding on to weight that isn't yours. Suffering without end may not be escapable, but it is reducible. That's where Frankl and Marcus both meet you, at the edge of your energy. Frankl offers vision. What meaning can you assign to this pain? Marcus offers order. What can you let go of right now? Both are ways of reclaiming strength, not by denying exhaustion, but by giving it direction. You don't need more motivation. You need a reason or a rhythm. So if you feel like you're always surviving, ask, is this pain asking me to find something deeper or to release what's not mine? One will lead you to purpose, the other to peace, and maybe, if you're lucky, to both. When you live in survival mode for too long, something begins to shut down inside. You stop dreaming, you stop creating, you stop feeling fully present. Life becomes a checklist. Wake up, perform, hold it together, repeat. There's no space for beauty, no margin for stillness. Even when you have a break, your body is tense, your mind still bracing for the next thing. You don't live, you brace. You don't breathe, you brace. Until one day you realize you don't remember what peace feels like. Frankl called this the existential vacuum. Not depression, not trauma, just emptiness. The sense that you're going through the motions without a deeper thread connecting. The daze. He saw this in people who appeared strong on the outside but were quietly unraveling within. His answer, reconnection. Not through rest alone, but through rediscovery of why. Why are you enduring? What does your pain serve? He believed that even the smallest act of meaning could begin to fill the vacuum, not escape from life, but re-entry into it, through purpose. Marcus Aurelius recognized the same drift, though he named it differently. He saw the danger of scattering the mind across things that don't matter. In a world of pressure and noise, he taught the power of returning to what is within you: breath, virtue, reason, action. He didn't promise relief. He promised alignment, a kind of peace that doesn't depend on changing your life, but on showing up to it differently. Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul, he wrote. But the soul needs tending, and when you are constantly surviving, you abandon the practices that keep the soul awake. You stop journaling, walking, praying, breathing deeply, laughing slowly. You lose rhythm, and Marcus's philosophy is rhythm. One moment, one choice, one act of virtue at a time. When the body is tired, the soul leans on habit, on structure, on simple truths repeated until they become anchors again. Frankl would challenge you to step back and ask, what's missing isn't rest, it's direction. You're tired not just from doing too much, but from doing without why. Marcus would nod as an add, you're tired from carrying too much you cannot control. Both invite you to reorder, one through meaning, the other through mastery. So, if survival has numbed you, not with pain but with grayness, know this, you're not alone, and you're not lost. You've just been surviving too long without a deeper compass. Frankl hands it to you through purpose, Marcus through stillness. Both, if followed, can lead you back to life. There are days when surviving isn't just hard, it feels impossible. When even getting out of bed feels like lifting a mountain. When the thought of doing it all again tomorrow makes your chest tighten. And you begin to ask the most human question, if nothing is changing, why should I keep going? That's when survival begins to flirt with surrender. Not a dramatic collapse, but a quiet fading. A sense that you're slipping away inside your own life. Viktor Frankl met people in that exact space, in hospital rooms, therapy sessions, and concentration camps. He saw that when people reached the edge of their strength, something deeper sometimes woke up. A resolve not built on energy, but on love. He tells the story of a man who found strength not in hope of escape, but in imagining his wife's face. That image carried him through. Frankl believed meaning doesn't need to be grand, it needs to be true. A child to care for, a promise to keep, a quiet act of courage. Even one purpose, clearly held, could carry a soul through unimaginable pain. Marcus Aurelius approached that moment of emptiness with brutal simplicity. He didn't look for a source of strength outside himself, he returned inward. When you have nothing left, you return to what is yours, your choices, your discipline, your ability to do the next thing well. Don't ask if things are going well, he wrote. Act well regardless. To Marcus, exhaustion wasn't failure. It was proof that you were engaged in the fight. His answer wasn't to stop, but to focus, not on how much remains, but on what matters now. The difference is clear. Frankl gives you an emotional anchor, something or someone to live for. Marcus gives you a philosophical backbone, a framework to stay upright when everything else falls. One turns pain into mission, the other turns fatigue into clarity. Both are ways of keeping the soul awake when the body and mind are breaking down, but both also require a choice. Not a dramatic one, a quiet one. A choice to get up again, to reach out, to say no to the spiral, to say yes to one more breath, one more task, one more act of love. It doesn't feel heroic, but it is. That's where meaning is born. Not in fireworks, but in endurance. So if you're at your limit and you've got nothing left, pause. Then choose. Choose purpose like Frankl, choose alignment like Marcus, but choose. Because the moment you do, you're no longer just surviving. You're shaping something, even if the world can't see it yet. Survival is noble, but it's not the destination. It keeps you breathing, but it doesn't make you feel alive. And after weeks, months, or years in survival mode, you start to wonder, will I ever feel joy again? Or am I just built to endure? That's the moment when the soul aches not for rest, but for meaning. You don't want to collapse, you want to feel again, to reconnect, to be human, not just a machine moving through time. Viktor Frankl would tell you that this longing is not weakness, it's the beginning of transformation. That the shift from surviving to living begins when you reclaim the why. He believed that every person has a unique task, life is asking them to fulfill. And that even in the smallest acts, caring for a stranger, creating something honest, enduring suffering with dignity, we come back to ourselves. Frankl's path isn't easy. It doesn't promise comfort, but it offers depth. It says, you are not here just to endure, you are here to respond. Marcus Aurelius would nod and offer a companion truth. His answer isn't rooted in emotion, but in alignment. You don't have to feel inspired to live rightly. You just have to act, one breath, one choice, one task. Let the rest go. Marcus wouldn't ask what excites you. He would ask, what is your role in this moment? And once you act from that place, from reason, from principle, something surprising happens. Life becomes bearable again, not because it's easier, but because it's clearer. Together, Frankl and Marcus offer two lifelines. One from the heart, the other from the spine. One helps you remember what you're fighting for. The other helps you keep fighting when you forget. You don't have to choose between them. You can carry both. A heart that burns for meaning. A mind that rests in order. A soul that survives and then rises because you're not weak for being tired. You're not failing because you want to give up. You've carried more than most people know, but now you need more than endurance. You need direction and the courage to say, I want to live, not just survive. So take this moment, this breath, and make it yours again. Not just something to push through, but something to build on. Let survival become your first act of defiance, and living your second. Surviving is not failure. It's proof that something in you refuses to quit. But Viktor Frankl and Marcus Aurelius remind us, you weren't made to just endure, you were made to live. Frankl urges you to find a meaning worth suffering for. Marcus calls you to steady your soul and act with quiet strength. One gives your pain a purpose, the other gives your steps direction. So if you're tired of surviving, start here. Breathe, choose, and take one step toward what matters. Not perfectly, but intentionally. If this message brought clarity or comfort, subscribe to Purpose Through Pain. Here we turn endurance into transformation, guided by ancient voices that still speak to today's struggles. Comment below. Do you reconnect with Frankl's purpose or with Marcus's discipline? Share this with someone who's silently holding everything together. They may not say it, but they need this.